of things in the Shetlands, here than in London, New York, or Tokyo. No further.
Welcome to Brass Matters with John Wallace, a series of podcasts designed to help you discover music you probably haven't heard before and incredible things you didn't know existed. This week we're talking about song cycles, specifically the one I wrote called The Centre of Things. I've always been fascinated by poetry and wrote my first songs in my teens. I love the combination of piano, trumpet and tenor voice. The trumpet was considered a perfect foil for the human voice by no less composers than Bach and Handel. What happened? And joining me this week to help answer that question are pianist Marianna Abrahamyan and trumpeter Bede Williams. So, Marianna, have you finished your PhD yet?
Hello, John. First of all, it's really lovely to be here. Yes, I finished my PhD, completed it last year.
And what's it called again?
It's called The Role of Dexterity in Georgi Ligeti's Piano Music.
I'm glad you play Ligeti because it seems so much more difficult than the music I wrote for you. Yeah.
Is that true?
No, I can't say that it was easy. No, not at all. It wasn't easy at all.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, B, do you play the trumpet and conduct and everything else in between? What is it that you don't do?
Oh, well, I'm really enjoying improvising a lot lately, and I find myself when I'm improvising doing something edging towards jazz. And certainly when I'm playing straight music, I find myself allowing myself to edge towards more smears and sounds and all those incredible techniques that those jazz trumpet players pioneered for us straight players. I don't think I would be best suited or would want to become an outright jazz player or a doubler, as so many amazing trumpeters do manage to do. But yeah, there's certainly a lot when it comes to music making that I don't do. Composition being one of them. As in the words of Marcus Stockhausen, composition doesn't suit my my rhythm of life. You know, I don't know how you find the time to do all those mouse clicks, or any composer for that matter. Do you do any composing?
No, unfortunately. I think when I was like 4 or 5 years old, I think I composed something, but thankfully none of them survived. So.
Yeah. Of course, the missing ingredient in a cake this afternoon is Jamie McDougall, the tenor. Jamie is doing Scottish opera today and tomorrow and all around about this bit, but I'll catch up with them later, you know, and give his sort of appraisal of what it was like. But I mean, are you in broad agreement with me about the efficacy of this sort of genre of a brass instrument, piano, and human voice? Why isn't it more used?
Do you want to go first?
Maybe you can tell why it's not in use, but I can just say that I love this combination, to be honest. I think there is something special to see piano, voice, and trumpet combined all together. Creates a special color. And
Well, as you alluded to, historically was, you know, trumpet and voice are very closely aligned, but there is some other pieces, contemporary pieces, particularly by North American composers, I'm not aware of any that go to the scale which you do with the song cycle. And it is a surprise, really. I think a lot of composers who aren't brass players themselves think that as a combination of instruments, it just wouldn't work because of this old thing that, of course, brass instruments are loud, which we know they're not.
Yeah.
They don't need to be loud. And I hope that in the recording of this piece, that is evidence, and it's a proof of concept, really.
Yeah.
I mean, there are a lot of gems from the Baroque. One that comes to mind in relation to your song cycle is the Scarlatti 7 songs.
It's the 7
arias, 7 arias.
And the Sulle Sponde del Tebro as well.
Yes.
Cantata by Alessandro Scarlatti, yeah.
Yeah. And they are, of course, secular songs, which is quite unusual because a lot of those examples from the Baroque are lifted from, otherwise sacred music.
Yeah.
But maybe the answer as to why there was little more of that, you'd surely have to think about what happened to the trumpet and its evolution, throughout the 18th, 19th centuries. Why there's no example, so few examples in the 20th century? I think it's more to do with maybe our song cycles. There's quite a lot of for voice and ensemble, but song cycle with solo instrument, solo piano, solo voice. I think that the solo instrument is a little bit of the odd one out. It's not necessarily that there's few for trumpet or brass instruments, voice and piano, but there's just few for any solo instrument, piano and voice. Maybe it's a little bit like the sacredness of the string quartet. Just composers want to, if they are going to do a song cycle, they want to be judged in that lineage of all that music for piano and voice. But maybe when there is some other examples where composers thought more flexibly. What do you think?
Perhaps, I know of, Schubert's Shepherd on the Rock and so on with the clarinet, and often I played that on the trumpet at Christmas time with one of my rallies from Australia, Joanna, and her dad Brian on the piano, and we used to have great fun doing that every Christmas time. And I always wondered, why doesn't somebody write something like that for the trumpet and soprano and keyboard, And so normally the piano is like an accompaniment to the singer, and you provide all of the orchestral backdrop and so on, and all of the orchestral sounds that you can get out of the piano. Well, what's it like dealing with an instrument that's got powerful personality like the trumpet, and a singer who's got a powerful personality? You're like mediating between the two.
Yes. I mean, I have to say that the piano in this song cycle, I think it's not only just gives like harmonic support, but also I think it has its unique emotional meaning, and also a well-formed melodic voice as well. I wouldn't say that it's just an accompaniment. I think the counterpoint, rich layers, a rich texture, it's more than that, I think.
Yes, I feel I often gave you your own material, piano, trumpet its own material. the voice, of course, is a way of putting the words across, which is very important for me. But it's like sort of weaving a tapestry between the two. It's like a very strongly coloured tartan, with primary colours, of which everybody, I think, subdued those primary colours, except the singers, of course. Except the singer, who has got to be quite a very the personality that comes out. It's got the words as well,
Mhm.
but it has to be sort of very multifarious. Yeah.
I think that notwithstanding the way in which you describe each member of the chamber group having a very distinctive role in their own material, these are evocations of imagery and moods which are quite distinctive, and we all felt very, part of the same fabric. Um, I always think with your music, John, that your rhythmic language is very distinctive. Just thinking about some of the things that we had to start at the beginning of The Island, for example, song number 5, which was
Yes.
written first, wasn't it?
Yeah.
If only there could just be another bar or two of introduction to let that to let that steady. I remember we had to practice that so much, you and I.
I never thought it was a difficult rhythm until Pete told me it
Yes,
was.
it
You know,
was.
Yeah.
I didn't see it as being any different from anything else that somebody would write until he told me, oh, this is idiosyncratic, you know.
I think I think we talk about this as well. I think there is something unique the way you write this rhythm and how
Yes.
that written rhythm translates into sound.
You gave me the valuable enough and
Going on to trumpet playing for a bit, it seems that, you're playing in the cycle, it transcends, it's subtle, so it transcends our idea of the trumpet as a one-dimensional, heroic instrument. So do you have to go into a monastery for 6 months to meditate before playing it, or was your method more prosaic than that?
My method of learning any new piece is actually very workmanlike. I just start at the beginning and very repetitious, guided a lot by intuition, and really quite on the athletic side of things, but always challenging myself to keep on bringing the imagination. I don't believe in the idea that the interpretation happens after you've learnt all the notes. I didn't fully invest myself in the words at the early stages, but the titles of all of these are lovely windows into what they're about. And of course, I'm talking with you about them, and you would often just say some words that would absolutely crystallize whether I'm on the right track or not. But then, of course, we did put in a lot of rehearsals into this. It was quite a lot to learn. And I loved playing with you, and Jamie is just the most incredible energy to make
That's true.
music with. And he absolutely had done the work on the text and really had formulated an idea as to mood and painting of the story.
Yeah.
So I like to try and get as far ahead as I can before meeting everyone else. Maybe that's the conductor training in me, but yeah, it felt it was a very nice chamber process, wasn't it?
It was, and thanks for conducting some of the
Yeah. Yeah.
behind the scenes, like
Yes, we've been talking about
Yes.
Gabrielli a lot, and apparently it was in Venice that the modern art of conducting was invented, and he just had a staff to go like that, up and down, to give some idea of the tactus.
That's right, tactus, that's the word, yeah.
actually some of the parts were really difficult, like for the ensemble, and it really helped a lot. Like I was just playing and also like
Body language.
Yeah.
is
Exactly,
so
that
important,
helped. So
isn't it?
thanks for that. It was fantastic.
My pleasure, yeah. John, when we were preparing this, I remember, I think I came over and I asked you to, I was about halfway through learning the songs and I had some ideas, but you very briefly spoke me through each song. And for me, it really did crystallize exactly what was going on. But just in general, where did all the poems come from? How did you come to know them?
Well, they came from an anthology of poetry from the Scottish Islands by people, like Sorry MacLean and Rory and McThomas, and then Hugh MacDiarmid, of course, who, although he lived in the borders, was all over Scotland. I hesitated to start in the Shetland Isles because I found Hugh MacDiarmid a really intimidating intellect, and his poetry so elevated and so up there, so full of references to things that I had to look up all the time, that I was a little bit. But then in the end, I set quite a few of his poems in my teens. It was only really when I retired from the job at the Royal Conservatoire that I sat down with the poetry and just had the freedom to let the ideas flow, and the sort of the tinkling on the piano that's going on continuously is like sort of, I just felt like it's the heavenly bells,
That's the opening of the first song in the Shetland Islands.
Yes, the Shetland song, and then the trumpet just picking way like an embroidery in that repetitive piano structure.
And there's so much text for Jamie to get across.
Yes.
You need to have just a very clear canvas.
Very clear, and it's quite filigree. It's all ornament without any meat, if you like. It's the icing on the cake without the cake, and Jamie is the cake, really, the tenor.
In any of the great centers of population, or in a mile-long cinema club, or a unit in a 200,000 expectorate at Twickenham, Murrayfield or Ibrox, in a 200,000 expectorate, life's greatest good, the pleasure of my own company.
And then there's the Shag's Nest.
And that's like a dream, and I just often, I think of, there are so many wonderful islands in Scotland, like the St Kilda, a group of islands with, they have 1,000-foot high cliffs. There's this, I think there's one island, the St Kilda, a conglomeration of islands, it's got something like 90,000 gannets on it, like 80% of the world's population.
Yeah.
And the islanders used to live off this. And I've been on boats myself, approaching, and Esme's next door neighbour, Ian McKinnon, used to have this boat, and he would take us out to the other side of Razzie, off Skye, which is beautiful. It's all treed, and there's waterfalls coming down, and it looks as though it's subtropical. You could be in the Caribbean, and it's so looking. And when you see these bare cliffs as well, and there's just this cacophony of birds, and they're flying, and they're diving into the sea and all over the place, and the other thing, Hugh MacDiarmid just catches how untidy a lot of these nests are, and how precarious the it is being a shag, you know,
Yeah.
or a cormorant, you know, the life. And there's all of these other birds that are going to come and steal your eggs. But I kept it really quite simple. And, you know,
A lot of very big intervals in the trumpet line and in the vocal part, like and definitely tracing the contour of the bird's flight path, and it's very picturesque.
that was, yes, I'm afraid that was the old-fashioned,
Yeah.
you know, John Dowland type word painting.
Yeah.
Those big swoops up and down. And then in the piano part, I'll never forget, you know, we did the first performance of Harrison Birtwhistle's piano concerto, and he did a pre-concert talk, and somebody in the audience said, "Oh, Mr. Birtwhistle, where did you get your idea for the opening?" And he said, "Well, I just sat down on the piano still and I plonked my hand on the piano, and it came out boom like that, and that's the opening." And so that's what I thought when you look at Marianne,
Yes.
what you've got in bar, you know, from about 14 onward, where you've got the right hand there, and it's just in these triads. I just thought
Yes, the
of
chords.
Harry Birtwhistle, one of the most prominent avant-garde composers, who was writing stuff like that. So I just wrote triads above that sort of that bass line, and then tried to keep like there is a rhythm and a throb about the tides around that island, and that starts around about, you know, bar 19 where you thought, you know, and it's always not quite symmetrical, the water as it comes against the boat, and so that's what I was trying to get there. But it's I wasn't sure whether the counterpoint between you and the piano and the tenor would work, but it seems to work in practice.
It certainly does.
Frebilo, Frebilo. Frebilo, by a man, by a man, in a boat.
And number 3, a Highland woman. When I first started to play this one, the singing and playing at the same time with the plunger mute, singing and playing, of course, fine, very common. With the plunger mute, I hadn't done before because it creates a completely different harmonic kind of series, somewhat unpredictable, but it took me a while to realize that this was about this woman and the life that she had and how hard it was.
Yeah, and it's this sort of bittersweet sort of sound that you managed to get, and that's where I took your advice, because there's a device on all brass instruments, most of them, including the tuba, really, where you can put the hand in the bell and it distorts the sound. So that's what I had first, and Bede played it to me, and he said, "This is the plunger mute with the same effect," and I said, "That works better, doesn't it, Bede?" I said, "I think so, yeah, I'll be practicing this is," and so on Bede's advice, we put and so it's marked with noughts and crosses, isn't it? Where you have the cross is the stop sound from the plunger mute, and the nought is where you open it up. And far from being, you can use that on the trumpet to make a silly effect like a duck or something. Whack, 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 whack. You can whack on it, but it can also be used much more subtly, as Bede does it. But it just managed to be the expressive, suppressed anguish of this poor woman, and then you've got this relentlessly sort of repetitive thing that modulates with all of these mezzo di voce sort of hairpins in it as well. I mean, do you find that very tiring to play?
Maybe emotionally, not like physically, but emotionally, yes. And I like the build up of this movement. It's towards the end and it's very bold modulations. I think, yeah, it's just lovely.
We had to start to playing with a real sense of collective rubato as those ascending, the contrary motion lines, and then your hands have to sweep right back up to start again.
Yes,
Each bar line needed a sympathy between us.
Exactly. There are huge leaps as well at the end, so like contrary motion.
Yeah.
Exactly. That part was.
I mean, should I have written in those as commas, or is it better just to leave it?
No.
I think it's all clear.
It's all clear.
Yeah, it's all
I mean, I'm always reminded of Bach. If someone can't feel my music, then they shouldn't play it.
Yes.
Time has gone like a black sludge, seeping through the thatch of a poor dwelling. The black labor was her inheritance, inheritance was her inheritance, graciously tonight.
And then next, Butter Doop. Did I say that correctly?
Butter Doop.
Doop.
It's sort of
The black boat.
The black boat.
We called this in rehearsal the batter, or I'm going to batter you. That was Jamie. That was Jamie's patter.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so we're on this boat. It's a barcarolle.
Yes, it is. It's on a calm day, in the Hebrides, and
I remember this movement. So Bede and I were rehearsing, and when he played this beautiful tune, he played so beautifully. It just flew so naturally, and I remember the piano and then the trumpet, the beautiful lines there, made it really, really clear and beautiful.
And Jamie's obviously not here, but we have to talk about his mouth music.
Yeah, which is, it's higher in the Hebrides and the Scottish Islands. There weren't very many instruments, so people used to sing rhythmically to dance to it, and so this sort of mouth music is very, very difficult to write down, and it's considered you can either do it or you can't.
Black boat, perfect Greek, sail tack, sail belly, full and white, and you yourself complete the craft. Silent spirit, it's flawless, 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 flawless.
And number 5 is The Island, and this is compositionally the most the largest in scale, and also the text. Yeah. It's a huge text.
Well, it's to the island that Sonny McLean loves most of all. Yeah. And it's the one I went for my honeymoon, and my daughter lives there now. Yeah. And it's just the most fantastic. It's like a whole country, and it's so varied. and the landscape on Skye. It's a beautiful island, and he keeps going on about its shape. When you see it from outer space or something, it looks like a great dead bird, you know. And so I mean, writing it, I was, you know, we are in the. I was, I think, in 2015 or something when I wrote it. I just thought, oh, is it too tuneful for the modern age? But I kept it nice and simple, except in the rhythm.
Yes.
And,
that rhythm that we had to practice so much to start with. Yeah, with the 9/8, but kind of in 6/8, and you've got dotted rhythm with a binary and a ternary subdivision. You got every single little thing. But tell me the story about how that rhythm came to you again.
I was just in a dream. Really, I got up and I wrote it down. I was staying with my daughter in the house that she was renting at the time in Dorney, next to the Eilean Donnan Castle, and I just got up and I wrote it down, and I didn't think anything else of it. I wrote the piano and the trumpet at the same time, and I think rhythm is something that you don't count, you feel it. And if you try to count this rhythm, you get nowhere near it. So you just have to, it's like you have to get somebody to sing it to you, and then you just learn it through oral transmission. Because if you try to count it, especially the piano, you know, so you just got to feel it. It's a question of feel. Yeah.
I think exactly as you said, when you try to count, it doesn't work very well. And I remember when we tried a few times and it eventually worked. There was, wow, that's it. That's the feel. Exactly. It's special when it works.
You know, it's an over the seas to sky sort of rhythm, in that you get the lilting of the boat in the rhythm. You know, it's irregular in the way that a boat is as well, when it's, you know, when you used to do the old crossing over to Skye, it's quite a racy bit there at Callacan, between Callacan and Kyle of Lacalch, where you go over this like a tidal race there, almost at certain times of the day, and so the boat rocks like that. So that's what really came into my head, is this rocking, irregular rocking motion that you get. I think if you get regular rocking motion, it sends you to sleep. You know?
Yeah.
You know, but this wasn't designed to send you to sleep. It was designed to keep you.
I'm going to call that embodied psychogeography.
Embodied psychogeography.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
what do you think he means by that?
Well, it's embodied.
Yeah, right. Yeah, felt. Yeah, the psychogeography. You're not only in our minds are you taking us to these places, but in our bodies too.
O great island, island of my love, many a night of them I fancied the great ocean, itself restless, agitated with love of you, as you lay on the sea. Great beautiful bird of Scotland, your supremely beautiful wings bent about the many-nooked Loch Braca dale, your beautiful wings prostrate on the sea, from the wild stallion to the air doth slate your joyous wings spread about what skies O great island, my love.
Lewis, in summer, the final piece, that absolutely,
Favorite.
yeah.
Shouldn't say that.
we shouldn't say it, but it really is. I think
Something special.
it really, really is.
Yeah, well, this one's all about the, you know, the interval of the sort of minor ninth, really.
Yeah.
You know, it keeps, and it, you know, because it's like you've got the sea and the sky, and you've got the land, and sometimes they're in this sort of relationship, this really, really still relationship, that it's like an immovable feast that's there, and time stands still when you've got this sort of little heat wave thing, this sort of on the horizon, this perfect blue sky reflected in an aquamarine sea, and you just think, my God, I'm lucky to be alive, you know. And so that was the whole thing behind this piece, and I found difficulty in stopping it, actually, and just not making it go on for it, because that's where we want to be on a day like that, is in eternity. And I just love the is it the final line of the poem, you know,
Look in at eternity.
looking at eternity.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then
Yeah.
soar into the distance. Yeah.
To looking at eternity. There's no need for philosophy, where you can make do with binoculars. Looking at eternity, where you can be do. Looking at eternity, where you can be do. Looking at eternity, where you can be do. Looking at eternity, where you can make do with binoculars.
Do you sit at the piano and just find harmony that it draws you in, or do you build it up from the tonal system?
I just use all techniques known to man to overcome my sort of hesitation at writing anything down, you know, because committing yourself is quite so. Often when I'm out and about, I've got a little notebook with me, and I write things down, and I write the harmonies at the same time. Then often when I get back at night, I'll just sit at the piano and jam, you know, just work things.
So it is improvisation a little bit around it. Yeah.
I mean, there's and then sometimes I do have a harmonic scheme, you know, mathematical harmonic scheme, especially if it's a longer piece, of where it starts and where it goes to. And sometimes you have almost to have that sort of structure to give it coherence, or else it sounds aimless at certain points. Yeah, I just learnt that to sort of do a sort of mental jujitsu on any piece I was writing, and then it just It's like your greenhouse. You have all the seeds, you put them in there, they grow, then you plant them out, and and it's like the symphony that we talked about that took 50 years. Well, getting better. In this song cycle, it only took about 4 years from beginning to end. So I'm getting less hesitant about writing it all down. We all know that if you're writing in Sibelius, red comes in at the extremities of what you're not supposed to do. And, we know, all looking at pieces of Brian Ferneyhoff and so on for a piano that they're absolutely seemingly impossible to play. How do you react to the demands put on composers who ask too much?
That's just so interesting. I actually, Ligeti always writes like he pushes to the limits and in terms of the range, in terms of the technique, etc. But if it's done, and he did it in a wonderful way. I think if it's done well, it works. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what do you think about the human limitations? I mean, the trumpet, I know because I've played it for a long time, it is a physically very intimidating instrument. If your lip goes, you can't play anything. So, I mean, what do you feel about some of these composers who put all of these demands on you, Bede? Like me.
This is something which I really enjoy thinking about, and so do a lot of other people, and I'm sure many of our listeners among them. For me, it's a little bit like what you're saying. As long as some things are impossible as they are written down, but then there's always a negotiation, and there's always a gap between, the text and the performance. So you have to have a position as a performer as to what really constitutes the music. I mean, ontologically, is the music as we play it, or is it the score? And so some composers do not really realize the gap that they are creating between their intention and the performer, and good composers do. And I think we have to be more okay about saying some composers are good, some composers are not good. But it feels really even awkward to right here now say that. Why are we so comfortable with all judging a performer, but we are less so when it comes to judging a composer, because we're supposedly able to just, write anything and that's my idea about music. But no composer that I've enjoyed playing goes about their creative work hermetically sealed from history or from the world around them. And I remember some of the stuff that we've done of Andrew Powell's music, and it looks, when you open the brush, like, what is that? But then you just start to realize it's a Dizzy Gillespie or Miles Davis kind of like lick. And he's gone to great lengths to write it out exactly. And sorry if you're listening, Andrew, why didn't you just kind of go and just do a squiggly line? And we get that. So a lot of things which seem impossible end up being negotiated to something approachable, right?
Yes, and also it is very important also to know what that particular impossible task mean. Mm-hmm. For example, in Ligeti's work, there are like 8 fortes, marked 8 fortes. In fact, that's also like impossible to play, but it's not about about the maximum volume of the piano, because really you can't play more than 2-3 fortes, right? But it was about the emotional intensity, and it's yes,
I
like
just think
really.
fortis is the whole.
Yes, perfect. Exactly that one.
Yes.
It's impossible to. It just you will break the instrument, right?
Yes,
But
yes,
it's
yes.
about really like that inner tension. So that's also very interesting. It goes beyond like it's impossible physically, but there's more than that. Yeah.
And some things aren't meant to sound easy because this podcast is brass matters. I remember a class that you did while I was a student on the Haydn trumpet concerto, and you made the point that on the keyed trumpet, a lot of the filigree, a lot of the semiquaver work sounds really hard.
Yeah.
And when you execute that with the ease of the modern instrument, you're like, what's going on there?
Some of the excitement goes away.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, we absolutely need to develop a sympathy, I think, for performers who take on these tasks and instill their creative voice and are actually maybe intentionally not always creating the most beautiful sound, because maybe 8 fortes can be beautiful, but maybe it also can be quite vulgar or something. This is just all about extension.
But maybe if I could just sort of wax lyrical for a moment, I feel that when composer hands the piece over to the performers, then the performers start to add their own layer of composition on top of what's. And I feel that a piece is never really finished, because it's amazing to me how performers keep making pieces of music that we've heard hundreds of times still interesting. That's fantastic. And there's a story to be told about this piece as well, because when I was going over all of the takes that from the recording, I said, "My, Bede's changed this and Bede's changed that, and he's done this and that." And then I went back, and what I'd done is that I'd done a further version of the thing, and Bede had gone back to a previous version that he preferred, really, and he had told me, but I'd forgotten. And in actual fact, it fitted better. So composition, I feel, is like it's a collaboration between the person who's written the dots and then the people, the musicians, who've got to realise those dots and turn it into something that people can listen to. And part of the role in the piano in this is to add all of those colours and stuff that the piano's got, but the trumpet hasn't got.
Exactly.
I mean, how do you do that? I mean, it's amazing. I see your feet and your pedaling and so on. How do you make all those colours?
Well, we have a special tool there. There was 3 of them actually to create that.
Yeah.
Yes, I think pedal plays an important role in the song cycle, John. And we found this beautiful, special moments just thanks to that pedal work, right? Like particularly in Louis in Summer, creating that hazy and tranquil
and also
sonority.
The Highland Woman, I think we spoke about pedaling a bit as well.
Yes, as well. I really enjoyed working on your piece and with our wonderful team as well. I think we are a great team, I have to say.
Yeah.
And yes, it was a great project and a great recording session as well. And I think you have a unique harmonic language, your style, John. That's when you hear it, oh, that's John Wallace. That's him. So I can easily recognize, and it's unique.
I agree. I do agree. I do
with all
agree.
these harmonies and
really have.
rhythm and counterpoint, everything. It's so unique.
I'll try and get some performances with you, Jamie, because with his ability to be the front man as well
Yes.
and put the words across, it's just he's so full of character.
Yeah.
It's perfect for a live
fantastic.
performance.
He makes everything feel okay. It's like, you go first, Jamie, I'll just follow you.
Well, so that's about all for today. And but if you like what you've heard, please press the like button. And if you want to hear more, subscribe. If you have any questions about anything that's been said, it would be nice to hear from you. So send in your emails to john.wallace@thewallacecollection.world. That's john.wallace@thewallacecollection, all one word, .world, WORLD, if you can't understand my accent. So takeaways from today's podcast are brass and voice and keyboard go well together, hand in glove. Bach, Handel, Bessie Smith, Louis Armstrong and Fred Longshaw can't be wrong. There's no culture gap between singers, brass players and pianists. They love each other, so come on guys out there, get your act together. And especially in these days of remote and home working, you can be as close to where it's happening in Stromness or Stornoway, Stromness or Scalloway, as in Streatham, Salford, Southampton or Skegness. Bede, it's been a great pleasure.
Thanks, John.
And Marianna,
Thank you.
thank
It's a
you.
pleasure to be here.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Well, that's all we have to say for ourselves today. And thanks to Marianna Abrahamyan and Bede Williams for being here to talk with me about being at the centre of things, whether in Shetland, London, New York or Tokyo.
The atmosphere is clear, translucent, as though the veil had been rent, and the Creator was seated